Hey everyone, welcome to another installment from Pro Engineering. In this episode, we're going to take this WPL kit that I picked up and build a chassis for our WPL Land Cruiser. So I ordered this from the WPL.com site. There are links here in the description. And what I purchased, I should turn it around. So this is the C24-1 Kit. What I wanted to do is get a complete chassis, and the cheapest way to do that was to just buy the kit. Now, first things first here, these are the standard axles that come with this kit. However, when you purchase from WPL, there you go. I ordered other stuff and they went ahead and put it in the box. I like buying these from WPL because the boxes that they are shipped in are double walled. So it's 2 layers of corrugation, and this box comes beautiful. I've seen other companies where the box comes in a thin sleeve, and I've received these mashed up with holes and you name it. All right, so I also ordered a couple servos. And what else is in here? Here are these are wheel weights. These look really cool. And I thought I ordered okay, so these are the metal axles. So that's not it. I also picked up the 2-speed trans, and I ordered a remote control because I really like these. So we'll kind of do something a little bit different on this build and use actual WPL electronics. So first things first, let's assemble these axles. So in this video, what I'm going to do is highlight any interesting things about the axles. The reason I'm not going to go through the entire build and assembly is I've done it before. There's a link up right now that'll show you the video of the complete build of these axles. So here we have all the bearings. These are the metal knuckles. We've got them front and rear diff cases. What are these? Those are the spring perches, metal drive shaft, which I really love. Other little bits. These newer ones also come with universal joints for the steering. Why is this bent? I'm sure it's supposed to be bent. It's very specific. Okay, we've got thread lock and grease, and something super cool that my old ones didn't have were little gaskets for the diffs. So that is neat. Also in these newer WPL kits, the axles, at least on the couple that I've purchased, are assembled like this. So you've got screws right here. You have these little kind of donut ring things here. They look like a drum brake. And basically they hold the outside of the axle together, and you can see how they painted them. So they were assembled like so, and then spray painted black. So taking it apart, okay, here's our axle. Most importantly, I want to note that because these screws have been threaded into the input side of the differential, that the holes are beautifully threaded. On earlier vehicles, you'd have to cut these yourself, and it was kind of a pain in the butt. Also, look at how well these line up. The seam is minimal at best. I mean, it's really, really nice and clean. Seems that a bit of the paint is kind of preventing this from popping off easily. So we'll just get a flat blade. I'm using a X-Acto. There you go. And I'll just pop right off there. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not the paint. These have little studs. If I can unscrew this one further. These have little studs that align right in there, and that's why they didn't want to come out. On earlier versions of these axles, the extra paint that would get on the inside of these and in the inside of these holes would prevent these from seating very nicely. Well done, WPL, on that fit and finish here. I've got the rear axle mostly together. You know, I've done so many of these that this took me about 5 minutes. What's important here is not to rush through anything. And I also wanted to highlight that at no point did I find anything close to fitting. Everything was a perfect fit. I didn't have to sand anything down. I did not have to modify anything. Everything was perfect. Okay, so we'll set that on top. And then we'll put the input side, goes like that, into the little holes there. And then here, now I remember how earlier I said that WPL painting this all together prevented paint from getting on the studs of this input side. Well, that was not the case here. Personally, I'd prefer they painted this black as well. I don't like it in red. I guess I could paint it, but I just don't feel like going outside. I also just realized that, like a dummy, I almost forgot our gaskets. This feels like it's obviously plastic. It's not paper. I'm just making sure that it's not adhesive or anything. So we'll take this back off. This time, perhaps pay attention. Put it straight back on. This is actually the first time I'm ever doing this. We'll put it on like that and then stick it in. No. Yeah. No. Wait. Yeah. No. Yes-ish. Yes. Okay, that's in. Cool, that's great. That'll prevent a lot of stuff from getting in there. Okay, there we go. That's all working. And before I put the other gasket on, let's just see how well this fits. Not bad. It's fitting these 2 holes easily. These two are seeming to have a problem. So what we're going to do with the X-Acto knife, we'll just very carefully scrape off some of the paint. The front axle went together just as well as the rear. And I just wanted to note that something that I always do when I assemble these axles is I want to give them a little break-in. So we're going to put this in the chuck here, just like that, as I'm doing this on camera. Okay. And just spin these out a little bit more there. I do this for about 30 seconds or so. I've gotten about here with really no weird things going on. It was a very, very straightforward assembly. The only issue is that when you're building this, the instructions are for the plastic axles versus the metal axles. So you have to do a little bit of your own sleuthing here. For the most part, there was no issue at all. You can see there's a little brass retainer right there. I should say it's actually a bushing. So you have to put the bushing with the larger flange up on all 4 points here. Also, the rod that connects the left and the right knuckles, I believe they have to go underneath, because obviously if you can see the arm that connects to the servo, it really wouldn't give enough room to put it on top. I also believe I used the longer screws in the wrong spot. These here should technically thread in here. You can see there's a little bit extra thread space. I mean, there's only about 2 millimeter difference in their lengths, but that really shouldn't cause any issues. What I am going to have to do is plug in the receiver, which is the WPL, which I've never done before. One thing I also want to note is these springs here are the ones that came with the C24, and I installed the ones that came with the Land Cruiser. According to WPL, those are softer, so it should lower it. But I don't know, is it going to slam it to the ground and make it worthless? But they're easy enough to change. You just pop off these little caps here and the springs can be changed. So since I want to set up the electronics, let's go ahead and pull this out of the bag. I've never set up a WPL radio before, so this will be the first. So we'll all do it together. You see I got the diesel sound kit for this one. The radios can control 2 receivers. I'm assuming that this radio is the same or similar to the one from the D12. And if that's the case, they're usually really nice, and yeah, you know, it feels good. It has a soft touch coating, which are always great at first, but give it 10 years and it'll be a goopy, disgusting mess, I would assume. I don't know what that is, but that's cool. Here we have instructions. Cool. What's this? Nice. All right, let's use these to do a thing. Okay, here's a little speaker. Here is the diesel sound, or I should say the receiver, which has diesel programmed in. Kind of a bummer you can't flip a switch, but for the price, I mean, come on, who can complain? Just at first glance, obviously there's no case. There's this cup at the bottom, and I would assume that this whole assembly has been potted into some kind of resin coating to prevent moisture from destroying the electronics. Obviously, in terms of price, you know, there's a reason why it looks like this. If they spend extra money on the case, then that's just going to raise the price of everything else. So I would hope that the money not spent on an enclosure was spent on the electronics, making it reliable. So hopefully that is good. There is an external ESC, and I forget what that's for, but I'm not going to be using that. Wait, what? Headlight, taillight, indicators? This has turn signals? You're kidding me. I didn't know that. Okay, so motor. Well, yeah, motor plugs in there. It's the on-off switch there. Battery plugs in there. Please note that it's positive and negative. Is there a little, yeah, you can see right there a little positive sign. Gear shift servo, steering servo, external device like a winch. And this one will set with the car that it is. Right now it's on car 2 or car 1. Steering servo is negative, positive, signal. Negative is usually the darkest one, but the positive is the red one. So if the darkest is the brown, then that one would be the negative input. And we'll plug that into the middle one. No, that's the shifter. Into the lower one. Okay, and the same for the steering servo. Let's get a battery in here. You turn the car on, you turn the radio on. Nothing seems to happen. You press this button here. And it says that you have to press that every binding confirmation, press bind button every time when you turn it on. I do want to plug in the audio. I don't have the motor plugged in, obviously, but if you want to shift, you just push the shift gears button here and listen to the servo. So that's cool. And we'll plug the motor in, which goes right in this rear one. So that one is positive to the outside. I mean, what do you expect? For its size, it's pretty good. I kind of hate it right now because it's on my desk, but perhaps when it's not shoved in my face, it'll sound a little bit better. And again, there's like nowhere for it to resonate. So yeah, I hate it right now, but let's put it in the car and we'll go from there. If you want to lower this, you can just press this speaker light button once, sharp press. Okay, so that's low, medium, way too loud, off. That's pretty cool. The lights you turn on and off by pressing and holding. This one a bit longer. They have absolutely no brightness, which is odd because these are WPL lights. I got them from they have absolutely no brightness at all. And I know I have these plugged in right. And these are turn signals, by the way. So we'll plug that in here. That's cool. By the way, when you turn the speaker on, so kind of cool. Little plate here holds the servo down. I had to trim off just a bit in the front because it was barely hitting the servo. And then it went down very nicely. Speaker is on top, and there should just be enough clearance right there to muffle it down and give it more of a bass resonance. We'll see. I could be pulling that out of my butt. We'll put the cap on there. I'll have to unplug a couple of things, but then that should be it. Receiver speed control multi-function unit is in. Got everything tucked in under here. And now I'm gonna put the body on. Everything else is ready to go on, so let's do it. Car is buttoned up. I did modify the steering. I actually moved the linkage from that original spot here. Maybe I should have actually, I don't know, that looks pretty straight to me. I stand by what I've done. Perhaps this linkage could have gone on top as well, but you know, I can always move it. Nonetheless, they are sharing the same pivot point, and you can see that at rest, both linkages are fairly horizontal. So very little bumps there. I wanted to address the lights. I measured the voltage at these terminals here, and it is 3.25 volts, which is more than enough for a bright white bulb. I suspect that what the issue is the two lights coming out of these are probably drawing too much current, so it's dimming them. The warm white bulbs that this came with, or I should say the C24 came with, were really dim. So I have these regular bright white bulbs, and these came from Yao Racing. I've got these in all kinds of different colors. This package here is for the 3mm orange LEDs, but you can get them in all different colors and sizes. So with this, we'll just plug that in here, turn this on, and these are, I would say, I don't know, 20% brighter. I mean, they're really not that bright still, but they're brighter than the ones it had. Those will be plugged in there. I've got red and two ambers that we're going to plug into the rear two, which are the turn signals. Then this is the brake, and this is the headlights. The problem is these plugs are too big, so they're all going to clash. I have all these plugs which I'm going to use here. I'm going to unplug these and see if I can jam them in here, because these are a lot thinner than these other guys. You can see that. The answer is no. These are a lot taller, so I think what I'll do is I'll wrap these in a heat shrink tubing and just manually put them on. There, that was not tedious or annoying at all. So all of these have been shrink wrapped. Next, I'm going to route these in the body and then plug them all in. The wires have just been routed down the side of the body, and you can see that they're just kind of aiming through the holes there. There's not really a light bucket, but you know, it'll get the job done. And then the side marker, same thing, just a little dab of hot glue. All right, that looks terrible, but I know how to fix it. Sweet. So the LEDs are installed, and you know, they're not bright. Usually at this point I would go about trying to make my own harness, but first off, I really love the fact that you control the headlights from the remote, which is super cool, even though they're not particularly bright. These are quite a lot brighter than the ones it came with, but unfortunately they're bright white. They look blue, but they're just, you know, standard bright white LEDs, which I really don't care for. The turn signals, I think, look cool. Again, they're not particularly bright. I do suspect that WPL is going to come out with their own light kit, and that's ultimately the reason why I'm not going to pursue additional modifications to the lighting, because I think that they're going to solve this. Let's take a look at the brakes. So we got to accelerate and then hit the brake. I'm gonna turn left. And right now they don't have a reverse light, but what they do have is if you then release the throttle and then go backwards, I mean, this is not the first time I've seen this. You know, unfortunately, it's too bad that the taillights aren't always on, along with the headlights. But again, beggars can't be choosers. This is a very, very inexpensive system, and I love the fact that we do get some integration with lighting in here, even if it needs a little bit more refining. I'm convinced again that they're going to be refining this because I've seen what WPL has done with, I mean, just look at this truck. It's fantastic. The build quality has really, really improved with them. And we do have fantastic electronics, especially given the fact that just a couple years ago, they were real basic left-right garbage. So I'm expecting that we're going to see leaps and bounds. So stay tuned. So pretty soon you'll be seeing this truck in a driving video, and we'll see you next time.